Good. I'm glad I remembered that. So I'll start all over. Welcome again. Let me introduce Susanna. So, Susanna is founder of ClearPath Strategies, which offers content marketing and strategic consulting. She has been a constant contact partner since 2012. Wow. Do they give you like a vest or something or a gold watch for being there that long?
Now they give you a pen.
Okay. And she's received extensive training in email marketing strategies and has delivered educational presentations and hands-on training in email marketing throughout New Jersey and New York. She believes in human-to-human marketing and that clear communications is essential in building growth for any size business. And that's why she aligns with Collaberex. So Susanna, thank you so much for being here and doing this. And it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me to do this. It's a topic that I love to talk about because there's so many misunderstandings, misconceptions, and I've been, educating people on this for a long time because as the title says, email marketing works if you know what you're doing. So my hope for you today is to give you a lot of information that you can actually take and use. And if you're not email marketing yet, consider whether it's right for you. If you're already doing it, consider how you can improve based on what you've learned today. And as Jonathan mentioned, definitely ask questions. I am here for you. I'm not here to just listen to me. So I'm going to give you a ton of information, but I'm going to leave time for questions. Okay. So something I hear all the time is that email marketing is over, it's done, it's dead. But I've also been hearing that for the last 10 years. So I just want to ask real quick if you could put it in the chat. Do you use email marketing today? And be honest, there's no judgment here. Yes, consistently, yes, sometimes, no, but I'm looking to start, or no, I think it's stupid. And just be honest and write your answer in the chat. Inconsistently, sometimes, maybe sometimes, Jonathan, come on, let's help you get better at that. Yes, good. No, looking to start, great. All right, so thank you for that. I'm gonna continue, but go ahead and keep answering. Okay, so the first thing I want to clear up is, what is email marketing for? I want to set the record straight, and I want to clarify what is the prime directive of this marketing channel, because too many people are misinformed. They believe you just need to send a barrage of emails and you're going to get some quick sales, and that is not at all what we're doing here. So my best analogy of differentiating advertising from marketing from sales is the lovely world of online dating. So, oops, let me put that back a minute. So you pay for your dating app and you get online, you publish your profile looking to find a match. That's advertising. You paid to get on there. And then you meet a match and you start dating and it becomes consistent. You start to get to know each other and build a relationship. That's marketing. Finally, you discover that you're soulmates and you want to get married. That's sales. I hope that clarified things. So just like you wouldn't go on a dating app and message a marriage proposal to a bunch of strangers, email marketing is focused on dating your contacts to see if they have the potential of becoming customers. So next, I want to answer a bunch of questions I get very, very often so that we're all on the same page. So how can I make it work for me? The best thing I can tell you is to get to know your best target audience extremely well. Give them the gift of your knowledge in their language. You can get people to open your email by enticing them with a subject line that gives them a hint as to what they're going to learn. No clickbait, please. We all hate it and we're tired of it. I've had people tell me to my face, "Oh, email marketing, isn't that just spam?" I'm like, you just call me a professional spammer. I'm not okay with that. So it is spam if you don't know the people on this list that you purchased and they didn't want to be on your list. That is spam. Does anyone read emails? Yes. And guess what? They read them more than once if they are interested in the topic. How often should I send? Typically, for a typical monthly professional services kind of company, once a month is enough. If you're a restaurant or a yoga studio, you could do weekly, but for most of us, monthly is going to work just fine. And people say, well, I don't know what to write about. Oh, come on. Write about what you know that they want to know from you. What do they want to know more about? What kind of questions do you normally get? What do they need to know about your industry and your area, and share your area of expertise? So those are the questions I get very, very often. And I'm going to, encourage you to keep asking questions along the way, but I wanted to clear that up right off the bat. So the reason email marketing is still around and getting stronger than ever is that you're reaching contacts that you do know in the place that they check every day, which is their inbox. So show of hands, how many of you can go through 5 work days, not vacation days, work days, without once checking your mail? So if we're working, we're checking, and we give our email inbox the priority over checking social media because we are business owners. So, and people say, I don't believe you. Those long email newsletters are boring. I just delete them. I say, yeah, I agree. So many people who have not been trained to do it properly do it all wrong. And that's where email marketing gets a bad reputation. So the fact is that every human has their best or favorite way to consume information. So you can write in the chat box how you prefer to receive information. And while you're doing that, I'll tell you that for me, I hate watching videos unless they are done professionally, because I can read information much faster than listening to someone yammer on over a homemade video. I'm a visual learner, so I prefer to see the words rather than listen to a podcast. I also enjoy dynamic group discussion for the social energy. So there are people who love videos and they hate reading. There are people who love reading long blogs and emails and they hate reading short social media posts. Everyone is different. Everyone has their different way of consuming information, absorbing information. So just because you hate one thing doesn't mean everyone does. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay. All right. So while the marketing channel is awesome, wait, hold on a second. All right. So emails don't work if they suck. So let's talk about what do you need to do to create and send emails that are going to be just great information for your recipients. You're doing it wrong if you make your content all about you and how great you are and what you've been doing lately, blah, blah, blah. No one wants to hear it except maybe your mother. You're doing it wrong if you use the platform to sell, 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 because no, that's not what we're here for. If you send huge blocks of text without any formatting, it's way too difficult for us to read and pay attention. So we're going to see I call it the Magna Carta, a huge block of text. I said, nah, that's too much. It's overwhelming. So people say, I'll read this later. Later never comes. They delete it. You're doing it wrong if you send too frequently, if you send it to anyone you've ever met anytime in your life. And worst of all, if you use a list that's mostly strangers. Another thing I hear all the time, and I do smack my head every time I hear it, is I don't need email marketing. I just use social media. I sometimes work with people who are just starting their business right now, first couple of years. And I say, what are you doing to get the word out? And they're like, well, I have Instagram. And they look at me like, well, that's the whole thing. That's all I need, right? I just have Instagram. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's not the whole story. So let's talk further about why you can't really rely just on social media. So you don't pay for social media because you don't own social media. You're not given access to the algorithms they use to determine if your post gets seen by your followers. So try as you might, all your posts are most certainly not seen by all of those who follow you. The social media gods decide the rules and they don't tell you the rules. So to me, that spells unreliability. You own your own email marketing database. You decide who gets your messages and when. You can create lists and segments and triggers and automations, and you can capture and analyze data so you can make strategic decisions. So before I go into building your email list, does anyone have questions on what I've covered so far? There's a whole bunch of more stuff to go, but.
Let's see.
Okay, I'm gonna keep going.
Susana?
Go ahead. Yeah, Eileen.
So my question really is, your timing about monthly, is that true? Do you feel that's true across the board for all professional services? Or does it have to do with, if you're, for instance, if you're teaching, like you said, you're sending out messaging about a particular thing you want your audience to learn. Do you think it's okay to wait an entire month?
That's one of those that depends kind of answers. But
Yeah.
so what I've been doing lately for my clients that I do the email marketing for is that I do two short ones. So if you're going to have if you have like one big theme, you could do once a month. But if you have stuff going on, if you have events, if you have specials, if you have like just something happening in a timely basis, two short ones work really, really well. So for example, I do one for an accountant and we just do once a month.
Okay.
I do one for someone who sells Broadway tickets and it's like several go out a month. I do some for a couple of businesses that do one event per month. And then I'll do two short ones per month for them. So it depends on what's going, is it informational versus is it event driven?
Got it. Thank you.
Sure. It's a great question.
Susana, I have a question. What's really the best and or fastest way to start to build an opt-in email list?
We're going to talk about that.
Okay, sorry.
So building your email list. And I encourage questions about that as well. So everyone asks, how do I grow my list? And this little tree is to remind you to build your list organically. And to let you know that rule number one is not to buy a list. First of all, it's against the rules. It's unethical. And honestly, it doesn't work. It is money that is not well spent. And like I always say, if you act like a spammer, people will think of you as a spammer. And I don't think that was your intent. So buying a list is just the wrong approach. It makes you feel like you're doing something because you're putting money out, but it really is a waste of money. What works much better is, like your mom would say, get out and meet people, get out there and network, go to events, do something on your website, have events yourself. So build your list organically for the best value, and then send your emails to those who really have expressed an interest. It's the quality of your list, not the quantity. Many years ago, it was like the person with the largest list at the end of the race, wins the race. That is so not true. You can have a list of 5,000 people who absolutely are not interested in you. And what is that going to buy you? Absolutely nothing. So pay attention to the quality. And quite frankly, the way I run my business, I only add people who deserve to be on my list. So I'm not trying to like scrape the sidewalks.
But I have a question on that. So it's people who've expressed interest. Let's say I meet someone at a in-person networking event and we have a great conversation and we exchange business cards, but they haven't explicitly said to me, "Ooh, put me on your email list. I want to receive your newsletter." Would they,
So,
what would you do with them?
so there's two kinds of permission. There's explicit permission and implicit permission. And in your circumstance, you've had a conversation, you're telling them about Collaberex, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, really? What's all that about?" They're actually asking you questions, they want to learn more. That counts as implicit permission. They're actually asking about it. So they're already showing you that they are interested. So that's why you would add them to the list, because you're giving them more information about the thing they already asked for. And Claire says, I periodically send a round of emails asking people I met if they'd like to be on my list and make it clear they can say no. Almost everyone says, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it. You can say, hey, I'm going to give you information, but please feel free to opt out if the information is not what you're looking for. It's about people like, the box on the right that says people who have expressed real interest, they ask questions, it's implied permission. Even your past clients, your current clients, you've already established a relationship with them. Strategic partners with an active relationship, fellow members of a group who engage on a regular basis, Collaberex, anyone who asked to be included, and anyone who downloaded your freebie from your site, which I'll show you a little bit in a minute. So I also get asked, well, what about like my competitors? What if I discover that my competitors got on my list? It's all good. Let them, unless they're very evil people, you can always yank them off, but it's all good. That's the way I feel about it. So how big does my list have to be for it to be effective? If your open rate is 30% or less, it tells me that you're due for a spring cleaning. You likely have strangers, old email addresses, people who have moved on, people who have passed on. Even if someone did have interest in your business model 10 years ago, they may have a whole new life and career with now zero need or interest for your services. And I do a lot of cleanouts for my own list, for my clients' list. And when I did a major spring cleaning of my list, my open rate went from 40% to 70%, because I got rid of people who clearly were not opening, not reading, not engaging, nothing. Why am I torturing those people? I just got them off my list. Okay. So it's better to reach 30 high quality, ready to buy prospects than boring 3,000 people who don't need or want your services. I always say feed the seeds and pull the weeds. Large old lists are gonna be full of garbage. So take out the garbage periodically. Okay. Before I move on to the content, any more questions on like who should be on your list? Why do so many email marketers start sending so many emails? Because they don't know what they're doing. Like multiple a day. You mean like the emails that I get from Kohl's, from Walgreens? I'm like, dude, I am not going to be shopping multiple times a day. Please leave me alone. I kind of expect that with retail, but if it's a professional service, I certainly do not expect that type of behavior. So again, depending on your business model, if you offer professional services, and if it's informational only, once a month is good enough. If you have events and something timely going on, 2 short emails in exchange for the 1 long email would work just fine.
So, Susanna,
Yeah.
do you have a rule of thumb of when you take someone off your list? Let's say, it's someone from a few years ago and you see based on, the stats that they haven't opened in how long would you take them off?
So I run my segments and I look at who hasn't opened even 1 single email in a year, a solid year of never opening a single email. And then even then, I go and look at the engagement for a few people. I spot check a few people and look at the engagement. And when I see physically that all these emails have been sent and they haven't opened a single one, I take them off my list.
Okay.
I get these from professional coaches. David, just connect me with them. I'll school them. I'll let them know. Right. I wouldn't hire anyone who sends me 5 emails a day. Do you recommend creating lists of buyer personas? I'm going to talk about segmenting in a little minute. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay. So let's go on to engaging content because that connects back with the buyer persona. So it's all about giving value in your content. You want to just freely pass on your knowledge. No, you can't give away too much knowledge. It's impossible. But also you want to show your personality, your honest, real, true personality, because your true personality is part of your brand and people need to see that and understand that before they can decide that if they want to work with you or not. But this is not the place for a lengthy blog post that belongs on your blog. So you want to keep the email itself short or relatively short, and then you can send them to your blog with a link to your website. So I wanted to show you here, these are 4 examples of real emails I've done for clients, and they look very different because they're very different clients. The one all the way on the right are architects, and it's really, really long email because, of course, it's a lot of pictures because they love showing photos of the project, and their clients love their emails. They actually get lots of really great feedback on the emails we send because they love the whole project story. The one all the way on the left is a coach. So most of hers is going to be a little bit of text with the link to her blog post and maybe invitation to a webinar or something. Rivero CPA, she's an accountant, and there's not a lot of pictures there. It's accounting. So she usually gives you like, news from the IRS. And then we have the IP attorney who does intro to the blog post and then a little bit of a client spotlight, or he'll do some fun facts. So we like to mix it up there. So you want to make sure that you're using a tool that's going to make your email look fantastic on your desktop and mobile so that it's mobile friendly. And if you have a long content, bring them over to your blog post with a link to your website or a special place on your site. And you want to break up the text with blocks, with headers, with images, with spacers, with dividers, something. We cannot, as human beings, handle long walls of text, which is why we have such fond memories of our textbooks from 6th grade, right? It was like all that long text and our eyes get tired. So we need space for our eyes to rest. So make sure that you use formatting to break it up. So I mentioned this before. If you go to my website, clearpathstrategy.com, and right on the homepage, you scroll down to the bottom. I have my free offer, which is, and this is not the end of the presentation, I'm just showing you. So I have an e-guide, 30 ways not to stare at a blank page. So for those of you who do struggle with what do I write this month, I encourage you to get my 30 ways not to stare at a blank page. And of course, you will be signing up for my email because that's how I snare you in. But it really is great content and people love it. And I've gotten compliments from it. All right, so let's talk about your goals And I want you to type in chat, which is your biggest challenge? So I've broken up into 5 categories. There are so many people who do what I do. How do customers know to choose me among my competitors? B, my industry is very fast-paced and changes constantly. C, there's almost no one who does what I do, so I constantly explain my business model. D, my industry is very complex and often misunderstood. So usually somebody will fall into at least one of those 4 categories, if not more. Yep. Okay. B and D, fantastic. So as you're doing that, so whether your focus is on educating or differentiating, if your focus is on educating, your business model could be confusing. So you need to clarify, you need to spend the bulk of your time and the bulk of your content clarifying what you do and how you do it in regular, plain vanilla English language. If your industry itself is complex, you want to inform the audience in their familiar language. And, you know, in the case of the CPA and the IP attorney, we spend a lot of time doing this. It's a lot of education, it's a lot of clarifying confusion, and it's a lot of, you know, simplifying a complex industry. If you have a lot of, oh, sorry, go ahead. Somebody have a question? No? Okay. So if you have a lot of competition, you want to focus on how you're unique, your unique value proposition, why you're different, how you're different. If your business is fast paced, then you know you may need 2 or 3 emails, short per month, and you want to share the latest news with your input. Going back to the CPA as an example, very originally 13 years ago, she wanted just to do a quarterly email. I convinced her to do monthly. During the pandemic, we were sending out 3 emails a month because things were changing so rapidly in the tax laws during COVID that we couldn't put the information out fast enough. Things were changing so fast, as an example. Okay, so let's talk about segmenting your list, and you want to serve the content that your clients want depending on where they are and what kind of services they need and want from you. So your goals can be further refined among your client segments. So as you can imagine, if you owned a gym, you can have any one of these people as your clients. There's a myriad of people who would come to your gym to get to their goals, and these people are not like each other. So when you map out your goals, remember that not everyone in your list is exactly alike. You're going to want to plan on content that's created specifically for the segments of people you serve. So create lists for different types of contacts. What do they want from you? And then serve the content that's of value to them without boring them with all the other stuff. And you want to speak to each segment with a targeted message. Always make the person feel like you're only talking to them, and it really helps seal the relationship. Before I go on, any questions about that? There's a lot of different ways of figuring out, well, how do I segment my client? One of the easiest or best ways to do that is, let's say, for example, I offer website writing services, email marketing services, and blog writing services. So I can start to write a post about blog writing and then include a link to something else on my website about blogging. I can see who clicked on the link about blogging. They're like, oh, these people are interested in the topic of blogging. So now I know. These people clicked on the link that was associated with website writing. Now I know what they're interested in. So if you want to do short bursts of information on the 2 or 3 main services that you offer, with links to more information on that, it's an easiest way for you to figure out who's interested in what. And yes, there are people who click on everything and you're like, okay, they just love me, I guess. But that's the easiest way to segment your list, is write a little blurb about different things that you offer, different things that you do, with a link to find out more. And then boom, there you are. They've just segmented themselves. Easy peasy. Okay. So I want to talk about choosing a robust email marketing tool. There, back when I started with Constant Contact, it was like the only game in town, and then there were two, and then there were three. Now there are 30 million email marketing tools. There's one born almost every day, and they do different things. They do similar things. They're cheap, they're expensive. It runs the gamut. So whatever you choose a professional email marketing tool, because trying to do it all yourself out of your Gmail or your Outlook is just never going to win the game. So as an example, you want to select a platform that doesn't just format and send emails. Think about what your company needs and make sure your tool includes what it needs. So here I'm showing you Constant Contact's event marketing tool that can help you market your events and collect registrations, whether they're free or they're paid. So if you do webinars, if you do events, make sure that your platform includes event marketing, event registration. If your business model works well with texting, that's more, I guess, kind of like event-based, a school, a nonprofit, retail, you'll want your tool to include that as well. And you want to use a professional tool that has automations available, because let's face it, we don't want to do everything manually every single day. So in this example, you can create an email series that kicks off on a trigger that you choose. So it could be when someone opens a particular email, if someone clicks on a particular link, or when a contact joins a specific list. So there are lots of strategies that automation can help you carry out. So if you want your tool to really work for you so that you don't have to do every single thing manually yourself, you'll want to make sure that the tool that you use has all the automations you really want. Here's an example of creating an automated thank you series. So you select the trigger, you select the timing, and you can even dictate some yes and no paths. It's very easy for anyone to use. You don't have to know how to code anything. You just figure out what do you want what do you want to put out? How long do you want to wait? What's the next trigger? If they're interested in this, go this way. If they're not interested, go that way. It's pretty straightforward. The same goes for a welcome series. If someone's just joining your list for the first time, you don't have to make it long. It could be 2, it could be 3 emails just to welcome them to the list, let them know what they should be expecting, give them some background information. And then you can just do a little short delay, a couple days here, send an email there. And if your business model, is going to work well with texting, you can send an automated texting chain as well. Okay, any questions before we move on to results? I don't see like the whole grid. So, John.
Yeah, no, if someone raised their hand, they'll come to the top of the grid, or they can
okay.
put their question in the chat.
Okay. David says, I've created automate emails from clicks on my website. I'm using Zapier for the automation emails every email. Okay. Yeah. Whatever tool is going to work for you, that's what you do. Okay. I use Constant Contact. Go, Susan. Okay. All right, so let's talk about what happens. So, funny story. They're a networking friend. She sent out emails all the time. She had a great business model. Everything was great. And she's like, yeah, I love email marketing. Everything's wonderful. And I said, what's your open rate? What's your click-through rate? She was like, oh, I don't know. I said, well, what do you mean you don't know? She's like, I don't look. Like, what do you mean you don't look? She says, like, I love sending out my messages. I'm afraid to look. Why? She's like, I'm just afraid to see that, like, if you have a party and nobody comes kind of thing. That was her big fear. So I'm like, I will hold her hand. Let's look together. It turned out she had a great open rate and she could have been looking at that all along. So don't be like my friend. After all the work you put in, don't ignore, don't be afraid of looking at the analytics. So don't hide from the data. After a few days after each email, let it go for a few days. Don't send an email and like look 10 minutes later. People take a few days to like, check their emails, see what happens. Don't think about like, I won, I lost, it's a win or a failure. Think of it as market research, an opportunity to see how your audience is reacting, what they like, what they don't like. And here's a chance for you to learn so you can make the appropriate changes. So send something out, look at what happens. Did they open? Did they click? Did they opt out? Did they bounce? A professional tool will tell you what you need to know about your audience reaction. So always be ready to make adjustments. That is what marketing is all about. Test and measure, test and measure. The more robust email platforms give you the ability to do A/B testing, so you can try 2 different strategies, 2 different subject lines, send it out 2 different days to see which one wins. And if you get low open rates, try something different for your subject line or try a different day of the week. I've discovered, sad to discover, that for small business owners, which is my general audience, Sunday afternoons wind up being one of the best open rates because y'all are not paying attention to your weekends. You're worrying about the week ahead and you're opening your emails Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m. instead of waiting until Monday morning. But you have to just take a look and see what happens. So what would be considered a low open rate? I would say that if you're getting below 40%, you really need to take a look at the quality of your list and see whether there's a disconnect between what you're talking about and who's on your list and what they're interested in. If you're getting 40%, 50%, you're doing okay, but you can still improve. I'm always kind of going for the win myself, and I always do a clean out to try and get a higher open rate because I want to talk to the people who really want to hear what I have to say. For low click rates on links, do you recommend using hyperlinks, buttons, or a paste link for them to see? That's a really excellent question, Nikki. You could try different things. I tend to use like the big buttons. You can do a text link, but I just feel like maybe because I have terrible vision and I'm a visual person, I feel like they're easily overlooked. So I like a big orange button or a big green button if you want them to click on something. But I've seen people use all kinds of things. So if you want to test it out, test different things. But if it's something important, like if you want them to register for something, the big old button is kind of hard to ignore. So I would try that. So increase open rates by segmenting recipients. Yeah, absolutely. I do all kinds of things. I do all kinds of magic behind the scenes. I'm like the wizard behind the curtain. I will, especially for my clients, I will see who did not open. I will silo them into a whole different list. And then as we send emails to the people who do open, I'll figure out what we can do on the people who don't open. Try a resend with a different subject line, try a resend in a whole different day of the week or time of day, something different. And if they still don't open, then they may be candidates to leave the list eventually. But constant contact, and I'm sure a lot of the other platforms have the feature where you send out an email that the tool actually waits the number of days you tell it to wait, and then they send the email again to those who did not open the first time. That always works. I always get people opening it the second go round. So if your tool does not have that, maybe you didn't notice it, look for it. but it is, or you could do it manually, but it's definitely worth trying. Yes, getting people to open your email is challenging. So the other thing you could do is change your subject line. I do that all the time. It's all about testing because we're all human beings. You never know what's going to work. So, you know, based on your results, you be prepared to change direction. You know, I always say if it didn't work very well, try something different. If it did work, don't change anything. Just keep going there and do more of the same. And always try and figure out what your audience wants more of. So, does it really work? Yes. My CPA client has reported at least 3 new clients every single year for the last 10 years as a direct result of the newsletter. She actually told me, please don't send me anything new. We're going to keep doing the newsletter, but I can't take on a single more new client. She's done. She's booked. My architect clients have increased their subscribers and are now booked for home renovations for months ahead. And our Broadway ticket sales people, they get orders in with every single solitary email we send out. Even if it's not for the show that we're promoting, it's like, oh yeah, Broadway, boom, they get a sale. Do you like a snarky or provocative subject line? You know, Jonathan, for you it would work because that is part of the whole personality and brand. So I would say be true to you, be true to your personality and brand. If people expect snarky, then give it to them because it's you, right? And if you're trying to do something that's totally not your personality, you're just going to confuse people and they're going to think like AI wrote it. So my thing is just as your mother always said, just be yourself. And that always works. I just sent an email with the title, setting up a call. Is that okay? Not my favorite, but if that's what people expect from you specifically, do that. But if someone sent me an email saying setting up a call, would I open it? I would open it out of curiosity, but I would also be like supremely annoyed at you. So like I have to be honest. But you know what? Do what works. If you're like, got another one to open, then you got it. So there's that line. You don't want to cross the line. Can you talk about they're coming in fast. Talk about the what would be better? I kind of like a straightforward subject line that like, why are you setting up a call with me? What is this about? And if I'm looking at a whole list of things in my inbox, I'm going to look through it really quickly. And if it's something like very general, like setting up a call, I'm like, what does this guy want? I don't know. I don't have time for this. But if you'd say what it's about, let's set up a call to discuss blah, blah, blah. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I was talking to Benjamin about this last week. Let me open his email. So I'm in favor of giving me a little bit more clarifying information. I feel that if it's a little too mysterious, I don't have time for your shenanigans right now. I need clarity. All right, let me scroll back up. Hold on. So the pre-header is there to give people a little bit more of a hint as to what you are planning to talk about, or maybe your subject line was really long, you can cut it in half, but it's not requirement. If you want to use the pre-header to give them a little bit more information, go ahead. But if you don't want to, you can skip it. It's not gonna harm anything. It's a great question. Yeah. So I get those a lot and delete those because I don't know why I was set. See, thank you, Eileen. If you agree with me. All right.
I totally agree. And I wanted to say to who I think was Benjamin about setting up a call. When I see something like that, if I don't know the person or I'm barely familiar, there's so many phishing emails now, I just delete all of those. If the subject line doesn't sound like it's a real subject line about something of interest, I don't even look at the email.
I should have clarified though.
Protect your reputation.
This was for someone who I was trying to like get in touch with. We've been playing phone tag for like a long time. Sorry, I should have clarified that in the email. What's
Okay.
like a
Oh, if you're
pitching-
talking about regular emails, we'll connect later because I got a whole strategy around that. That's like a thing for me. So I've been studying about that. So hit me up later. We'll exchange strategies around just getting someone to respond to an email.
Okay.
That's a whole thing. Absolutely. All right, what other, so for drip campaigns, I'm often annoyed and off put by the guilt-based subject lines. Yeah, Jason, I agree with you. You know, again, it's got to be true to your personality, and it's got to be like, what would you say to that person if you were in person? What would you say if you guys were, you know, sitting across the table and chatting? You want to use a very natural, organic language. And I don't like those subject lines like, you got to see this. I'm like, yeah, I don't. Okay. Like, how old do you think I am? I'm not 12. Just stop wasting my time. So, if you want to, you know, reach someone as grouchy as I am, just be very straightforward and clear. I get emails coming from people I don't know, expecting me to set up a call, very little. Yeah, absolutely. We kind of get too many of those. So so the whole idea around email marketing is that it's a chance for you to talk about your business in a way that says, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to give you information about my industry, about my business. Always think about email marketing as another way for you to say, how can I help you? How can I provide you with information that you need? Let's see if I had another slide. Okay, that was I look like this often. What other questions? What did I not cover? Something you were hoping I would get to? Yeah, this is me in my natural, my natural state.
So Mark had something in the meeting about a subject line with a question. Is that something you think is a good strategy?
Just like a general, like just ending it in a question.
Well, you're asking them a question in the subject
Yeah, as
line.
long as it's like natural language, absolutely, you could do that. Yeah, absolutely. As you know, like that's why I talk about clickbait. It's like that manipulative style that unfortunately is very popular these days. Manipulative language, like they're trying to get you to open, they're trying too hard. So if you just say, like, here's the top 10 tips about blog writing. Okay, it's a boring subject line. But if you were looking for information on blog writing, you would open it. But instead of saying something like, here's the things about blog writing that no one wants you to know, like, yeah, I won't. I will app delete, I will unsubscribe, like get out. So be forthright, be giving, be clear, be true to your personality.
Are there rules of thumb regarding length of a subject line?
So unfortunately, the rules are it's got to fit like this guy.
Yeah.
You know, so if you have a long subject line, it's going to kind of fall off. So always test, you know, when you're doing your email, test on your phone as well as your desktop, because it's going to look different.
Okay. And what's a good click-through rate? You talked about open rates, but how
Yeah.
about a click-through rate?
I tend to want to say anyone who clicked on anything is a success. You're not going to expect like 60% of the people are going to click on this thing. It's not that high. So if let's say 50-60% opened it, you're probably going to have 3 or 4 links in there on 3 or 4 different things. So people are going to click on the thing that they're interested in the most, and they're not usually don't click on everything. So if maybe just like one person or 2 people clicks on a link, you're like, okay, not too many people were interested in that. So that's just telling you to change direction, and you know that wasn't a winner. But you're never going to get like a 50 or 60% click-through rate. That's you know, that would be.
But Susanna, quick question. I mean, the click-through rate for us is the really important ones, because even if you get a handful, no one's clicking through unless they have some deep interest in what you're offering, whether it's an article you've written or whatever you're sending out. So you may get a 50% open, that's nice, but if I get, 8 people that click through, and sometimes you'll see they click through more than once, which means they're going back and reading it again. Those are the hot leads, I would call them.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%. If you're getting, it doesn't really matter the numbers for the click-through rate. It's like, who are they? Who,
Right.
at that point, you just want to know, who are they?
Yep.
And then, I will, again, automation, you can set it up to say, whoever clicks on this thing about blogging, put them in a separate list called people who are interested about blogging.
Right.
And now you're starting to build a list about that particular topic. So it's all about segmenting and see who's interested in what.
Yeah. Mark put in another good question in the chat. When starting an email newsletter, should we ask permission via email first or ask people to specifically opt out if they don't want to receive it?
Yeah, it's the old better to ask for, not the ask permission part.
Ask forgiveness?
Yeah, it's better to ask forgiveness.
Rather than
So
permission.
what I would do, if someone, if you feel like there is an interest, there's a match there, I would send a welcome email saying, this is who this is what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be giving tips. I'm going to be emailing once a month or twice a month or whatever. Set up the expectation on your welcome email and then say, if you feel after a few emails that this is not providing you the quality of information you were looking for, feel free to opt out.
Do most of the email programs like Constant Contact or MailChimp, when do they start to block you? Is it based on opt-outs or where they designate you as spam?
They have, believe me, they have algorithms and they need to know, it's definitely the number, both. It's definitely the number of spam reports. So you want to make sure you keep that very, very extremely low to zero spam reports. Otherwise, opt-outs, if you are loading up a really big list and you have a whole mess of opt-outs, you will be getting a phone call to say, who are you and what are you doing? Because not just Constant Contact, but all of those companies, they take the spamming thing very, very, very dead serious. So I've had people be, kind of been shut down by MailChimp, shut down by Constant Contact, shut down by anyone, because there's a certain behavior that they recognize as spamming versus regular business owners.
So would it not be a good idea to send an email out to your list to clean it up and say, please opt out if I'm bothering you? And then you're going to increase your number of opt-outs dramatically.
Oh, I just get rid of people.
Okay, you don't ask, you just get rid of them. Okay.
I don't ask. I look at their behavior. And I think if you haven't opened a single one of my emails in a solid year, my emails are probably just clogging up your inbox. Let me do you a favor and take you off, because you're clearly not interested. So yeah, I don't ask them. Susan says, why choose Constant Contact? All of the email platforms out there are very much the same and also very different at the same time. And Constant Contact has always been known for their real honest to God customer service. So I know with MailChimp, they start you out free. And then if you have a problem or a question, there's no one to call. There's no phone number. You have to go digging for information. I know people who get frustrated by that. From the very first minute you start with Constant Contact, if you have a question, you can call and there will be a person and it will not be overseas. So I've spent many a time, and my clients have spent many time just asking them all kinds of questions or saying, hey, I want to do this and I can't seem to figure out how to do it. Can you help me out? And they'll just do it for you. They're just like really, super people.
So Suzanne, I just want to say a few things. First, thank you. Our time is But Susanna said she'll hang out longer for anyone that wants to answer questions, and I'll hang out too. So we're going to get to all your questions. But Susanna, if you could put your contact information in the chat so anyone could save the chat or put it on the screen and they could take a screenshot, then people will know if they have other questions going forward. Oh, you're a fast typer. Thanks.
I am, thank you. Wait, someone said,
So I just want to say it's 1 o'clock now,
Mhm.
and I want to, for anyone that needs to leave because they have other meetings to go to, thank you for being here. This was wonderful. This was a really a great workshop and ton of information. My head is spinning now. I think I'll just go take a nap or something. But we're going to hang out for a few more minutes for anyone else that has, so we can get to everyone else's questions.
yeah, if you have questions and I didn't answer them, I'm here, so please let me know. Yeah,
Okay.
Nikki says I have people unsubscribe and choose spam as the reason on educational emails where I share tips. That is very frustrating.
So Susanna, why don't you unshare the screen and then we'll
Oh,
just.
yeah, let me do that.
Okay. I mean, not that that's
You
not,
don't want to see my picture?
I don't. It was an image that is starting to get embedded in my brain. So
We have to
Anyway.
run. It was really great. Thank you so, so much.
You're very welcome.
to
So
see
thank
you.
you for your
Super.
questions too.
Bye, guys.
All right.
okay. Anyone else have, something they want to drill
Yeah,
Susanna
just
with?
shout it out. Shout it out.
Yeah, she could just unmute and
Yeah,
I got a question, and great presentation, by the way.
thank you.
Should, the thing of the question about spam, is it worthwhile to only send like a portion of your first email out? Because if there's too much spam, you might never be able to send anything more out. Like, is there a strategy around that?
Yeah, there is. I just did that with, had a new company I'm working with and they sent me their giant list and they've been in business for many, many years, generational business. And I'm like, we're going to do this in bits and pieces. So literally, even over the weekend, I sent out an email to a small portion, looked at the results, sent it out to another small portion, looked at the results, and I kept chunking it out until I got the whole list in. And we just set aside all the people who didn't open. We just set them aside. We're going to deal with them later. And but we really got a fantastic open rate. So we're going to be sending to the people who actually opened as a primary goal, and we'll deal with the unopened later. But yeah, I chunked it out. So I didn't want to, upset the algorithms.
And what would you do? Like, how would you know what part of it would be spam? Like, would it be the subject line? Would it be the link? Would it be a button instead of a hyperlink? Like, how would you know what to adjust?
Yeah, it's typically, so if someone's going to mark you as spam, unfortunately, this is so unfortunate. They'll just look at who it's from. They're like, I don't remember meeting him. It's spam. And it turns out, of course, they did meet you. Very frustrating. So one of the things I did not mention, so you guys are getting special information, is to make sure that your from name is someone they're going to instantly identify. So if I sent out emails saying it's from ClearPath Strategy, nobody knows who that is. So I always say it's from Susana at ClearPath Strategy. Oh yeah, Susana, she's the email lady. So if they remember your name, send it from your name. If they remember your business name, send it from your business name. When in doubt, do both, like Mark from ABC Company. Otherwise, they'll go like, Mark, who's that? And unfortunately, their memories will not serve them.
yeah. Susanna, I have a question. You said two things that seemed a little contradictory. One, you start off, yes,
Never.
all the time. So one of the things you said is there are different people. You want to use the language that appeals to your audience, use their language. On the other hand, you said use your own language that is an expression of your personality. So how do you do both? And
Yeah,
what
Yeah, you do both. So what I do, give you another little secret. So when I talk to prospects, clients, whatever, about what I do, let's say I'm talking to you about email marketing and you're like, you say, you describe it in a way that it makes you feel a certain way. I take notes on what people say, on what descriptors they use, and then I'll use their language right back at them. Like you can, like I had someone say to me, marketing to me is like a ball of confusion. So I wrote down, oh, ball of confusion. That's a good phrase. And then the next time I sent something out, like if marketing seems like a ball of confusion to you, you know, that's their language, not mine. But but the tone of voice is always me. As you know, I am never formal. I am always informal. I'm always casual. And so if you ever heard something very formal from me, you would probably think, oh my God, someone took over her body or she's using AI, because that's not her. So that's using phrases that's common among your clients, but always making it sound like your personality is coming through.
Okay. On that subject, what do you think about people that, first, people that use AI, and then also, what do you think about using the phrase that I've seen, which I'm not so opposed to, written by a human?
You can if you want to. I would hope that if someone's seeing something I wrote, they would know that I wrote it. I use AI to generate ideas because sometimes I'm just stuck for ideas. So I kind of like, hey, should I write about this or that? And then they give me their, information written in their robotic language. And then I'm like, okay, thanks for the information. I'll write it myself. Um, I hope that because of what I do, I don't have to say that it was written by a human. But if you feel like that speaks to you, then go ahead and do that.
I have one last question.
Sure.
Just like you talk about clickbait and the news and, anything that's negative always seems to get more attention than positive. What do you think about putting like a negative bent spin on a subject line, like, top 10 regrets or mistakes, that people make versus
Yeah.
top 10, wonderful things about something?
Yeah, and of course my landscaper is choosing right now to mow my lawn, so I'm like shouting over the machinery. You could try it a few times here and there, but don't be bogged down with that one style. Like change it up, I would say. So I'd rather you change it up so that people never know what to expect from you and you keep things interesting.
Yeah. Mark, on that subject, a quick story. I was friends with a publisher. It was since been gone out of business, but he put out a book called World's Best Golf Jokes, and it sold like nothing. And he changed the title to World's Worst
Right.
Golf Jokes, and he sold a ton.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yes.
I got a quick question. You didn't talk about the tools that are out there that can kind of analyze your subject line and your meat of your email. Do you recommend those?
You can try it. There are I forget what they're called, but I know there are some AI tools that will they'll give you a grade, they'll analyze your subject lines, whatever. It's all about understanding that the people out there are actual people.
Mhm.
And heaven knows we cannot predict what human beings are going to do next at any given moment. So that's why, it's all about testing, testing, testing. And what works one day may not work next week because humans are flaky. So you can use tools, but don't put 100% of your faith on it. You know your people best, and you probably have a better inkling of what's gonna work.
So if you're creating an email campaign,
Yes.
how many, like you're just starting off on a list, you have your list or whatever. How many emails do you think should be in the sequence, and how frequently should you send them out, or it's just you try something and you test it out? You say, okay, let's try 5 emails and I send them once a week. Let's see how that works. Something like
Yeah,
that.
so it depends on what your goal is. So if it's a welcome series, I'm just gonna do 3. Like, I don't need more than 3 emails just to explain like who I am, what I'm gonna write about, and all that. So I just do 3. I don't want to test people's patience and let it go. But if like right now I'm trying to gain clients for a group coaching program I'm running, so I created a whole series around like what would you learn from this group coaching program type of thing. And that has, I think like 7 or 8 in the series, because I know it's going to take me a long time to fill that group. And there's a lot of information I want to divulge. So I've spaced it out. And if I can think of 2 more, I don't mind making 8 or 10 emails, but I don't have them every day. I have them like maybe 7 to 10 days apart. And they're for a very, very small select group of people in my list who I want to invite to that coaching program.
Okay. Like for Collaberex specifically, if our goals are either to get them to a conversation or get them to visit a group for free, I guess you need multiple touches, since
You
they're not
do.
going to open, everything. And
Right. So here's the other, part about reaching human beings. It also depends on what's going on in the world. So right now in the month of May, there's going to be graduations and there's going to be Mother's Day and there's going to be whatever, if people have kids who are, in high school or in college, something's happening in the month of May. That's just a given. You have to understand that that's what it is. And then in June, you're going to have Father's Day, you're going to have graduations again, you're going to have weddings, like something's always happening. So you're going to have to like balance that out. And so, yeah, you need to remind them more than once because, and then there's going to be vacations and then there's going to be weddings and blah, blah, blah. So multiple touches.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
This was
you.
great,
Now my
Susana.
landscaper is like right here. So thanks, everybody. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful questions.
Thank you.
Thank you
Okay.
very
All
much.
right, take care.
Okay, here we go. Susanna, stand for a second. I stopped the recording.